Good evening, everyone. I request all the participants on the webinar right now to kindly keep their microphones on mute and their videos off during the whole duration of this webinar so as to avoid any disturbance. On that note, I would like to welcome everyone to the webinar on women's safety issues and challenges at workplace. Now I request Dr. Vijaya to kindly start the program. Ma'am.
Thank you, Soumya. We'll start this session in 2 minutes, please. Yeah, good evening to all. With due permission from our Director General, Madam, I'll start the session.
Yeah, please start.
Okay, thank you, Madam. So, good evening to all. This is Dr. Vijaya, faculty member, National Institute for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Hyderabad, and welcoming you all for the webinar on women's safety issues and challenges at workplace. And it's my pleasure to invite you all for the webinar. And it's my pleasure to invite our chief guest for the webinar, Madam Srimati B. Sumati, IPS, DIG, CID, Telangana State Women Safety Wing, Government of Telangana, Hyderabad. Madam, we welcome you for the session, Madam. And our beloved Director General, Madam, Mrs. Glory Sarupa, Madam, and the participants from various streams such as government officials, bankers, professionals, and academicians. And I welcome you all for the one-day webinar on these women safety issues and challenges at workplace. National Institute for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise is a pioneer institute in the field of MSME and is playing a major role in providing the pro-business environment to foster the progress of MSMEs towards success and prosperity. So our institute is to assist the government in formulating the policies for MSMEs and help the practicing and potential entrepreneur through a host of services like training, research, consultancy, information, education, and extension. Our institute has been set up in 1962. I had made valuable contribution by creating an impressive record of achievements beyond the Indian shores, enabling other developing countries to get the benefit of the institute facilities and expertise. The institute is associated with prestigious world bodies such as UNESCO, ILO, CFTC, UNICEF, ARDO, and GIZ. And the institute has trained more than 5,40,877 participants by organizing around 16,106 programs, which includes prospective and existing entrepreneurs, officials from various ministries of Government of India and state governments. The institute is implementing the ITIC scheme of Ministry of External Affairs of Government of India since 1967 and has trained more than 10,350 international executives from 143 developing countries. And we are very happy that today in our program also some of the international participants are participating in the webinar. And the institute has also undertaken more than 945 research and consultancy projects. And regarding the webinar, as we are knowing that the gender plays a huge role in workplace success and can be a big challenge, especially if the employee is a woman in a male-dominated workplace or career. Women in the workplace have proved the stupendous presence in almost every industry and in huge numbers. But despite achieving such huge laurels, women still face many obstacles in the workplace. With women representing nearly 24.4% of the total workforce in India, personal security has become essential to the physical, intellectual, emotional, economic, and spiritual well-being. Apart from the gender bias and sexual harassment, there are many few issues that are being hurdle for the women to grow high in this corporate world. So creating an awareness on gender equality through empowerment, safety, and well-being of the women is crucial and fundamental at the present situation. So in this regard, the National Institute for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise, Hyderabad, is organizing this webinar on women's safety issues and challenges at workplace. So now I request our beloved Director General, Madam, to address our participants. Thank you all.
Namaskar. Today's chief guest, Srimati B. Sumati Garu, IPS, DIG, CID, and Telangana State Women's Safety Wing, my faculty colleagues, and the participating women across all the department sections and across the nation and overseas. And we have some gentlemen also in the program. Very good evening and greetings from National Institute for MSME, Hyderabad, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. We are very happy to organize this webinar with the kind consent of today's chief guest, Srimati Sumati Garu. Though she's having very hectic schedule, and from her time, she could able to give some time for us. As told by Dr. Vijaya, so we have several challenges at workplace and we are experiencing several issues. Though we are progressing and we are walking shoulder to shoulder with men, and we have a lot of achievement, but still there are several challenges, and there is a lot of discrimination also, especially in MSME sector, in the manufacturing sector. Women are paid 18% less wages than the men, though same work is carried out. I hope everybody will agree with me, irrespective of the sector, this disparity is there. And of course, the challenges, there are several, and the incidences we come across in India, in all the states at different levels of workplace, and though many women are heading the organizations and many policy makers are there, but issues are several. At NIMSME, we have a women study cell. We are trying to empower the women. We are conducting a lot of international programs on women in entrepreneurship, development of women in entrepreneurship, and several measures we have taken, but we have enormous issues. And that's why we are organizing this, so that the tips what we are going to get from today's chief guest, Srimati B. Sumati Garu, it will be very helpful to all of us, so that, you know, without much problem, without losing our energy, without losing our mental peace, and without taking much stress, so we can manage our work with a lot of happiness. That's why this webinar is organized. I hope everybody will agree with me. Irrespective of the sector, irrespective of the cadre, irrespective of the pay we receive, so the challenges are similar for all. We are managing, but by discussing these kind of forums, and by solving and resolving many issues, so we can with a lot of happiness, we can deliver more and contribute better for our organizations, so that our families are also happy, and our country will progress ultimately. That is the objective of this webinar today. And thank you very much for all of you participating in this. Especially, we are very grateful to Sumati Garu for giving her valuable time to be with all of us, and to share some of the experiences, and also to give us good tips and guidelines, and some measures to overcome these challenges. So thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam. And it's my pleasure to introduce our chief guest of the webinar, Madam Srimati B. Sumati, IPS, DIG, CID, Telangana State Women's Safety Wing, Government of Telangana, Hyderabad. Madam Sumati Bandagula, IPS, Deputy Inspector General of Police, Telangana, has earned the reputation of being dedicated, diligent, supportive, and intuitive in resolving the matters, and has emerged to be an exemplary representative of the state police and a pioneer in having vision and working towards it. Sumati Madam was directly recruited as a Deputy Superintendent of Police in 2001. She belongs to 2006 batch of IPS and has successfully completed 19 years in police service. Her stint in the police department spans many wings, including law and order, intelligence, and CID, and she is now in the rank of Deputy Inspector General of Police. She has brought many strength and skill to the department in policing, particularly in protection of the women and weaker sections. Numerous initiatives has been launched under her guidance and have augmented the capacity of the TS police in processing and resolving the cases, achieving the results, and establishing milestones. I'm just sharing with you a few of the initiations Madam has taken under her guidance, and she has been instrumental in starting Chetana distress counseling centers at the district level and Vikalpa, an initiative intended to prevent sex trafficking. A high point in her career is the establishment of Bharosa, one-stop center for investigation of sexual crimes against the woman and child. Dr. Sumati has initiated a training program for doctors and medical professionals for sensitivity in scientific investigations of crimes. She has also facilitated technology integration for uniform process delivery for the smooth functioning of Bharosa centers. She Teams is one of the first of its kind initiative of police aimed at addressing the harassment of girls and women in public areas, and is a unique concept that combines the delivery of justice alongside the creation of awareness. Madam has led the project creating modules for school and educational institutions in addressing the issues pertaining to girl children. The module included the measures such as training of teachers and involving the She Teams in an effective and efficient manner. Empowering the women from within the community is a concept that led to the formation of Women's Girl Safety Clubs, encouraging the volunteerism, involving young students in becoming the vigilant volunteers to be alert toward the issues and help in preventing the crimes. Madam is working towards the GO for the establishment of pilot projects and training of trainers initiatives to establish a permanent safety mechanism. Cyber Hub is the latest initiative by the Women's Safety Wing, and it is a sustained, unique program whose objective is to prevent the cyber crimes by increasing the consciousness of potential danger online. Domestic violence is another area that Madam has been focusing on as a part of her vision, and she brought in innovation to the resolution process and has taken various steps in combining the field actions and technology. An NRI cell has been set up to resolve the harassment cases where the NRI spouses and relatives are cited as accused, and has also been functioning through the pandemic. And with her commendable services during the COVID-19, she received the Best COVID Warrior Award of Police for Telangana State on the eve of 29th anniversary celebration of National Commission for Women from Union Minister Shri Prakash Javadekar Garu. She coordinated the migrant movements in a big way during the peak COVID situation in the state, and even helped to develop an app for COVID management and well-being of the police force. A compassionate officer who is always available, a professional who demonstrates excellence in her performance and authority on various aspects of policing, Sumati Bandagula is a police officer who is creative, innovative, enterprising, and conversant with law in letter and spirit. It's our pleasure to be the part of our webinar, Madam. So we are welcoming you for the session, Madam. Thank you, Madam. I request Madam to address the participants.
Very good afternoon to Director General MSME, Madam, and Dr. Vijaya, who was kind enough to introduce today. I would say that I am happy to be part of this webinar today to MSME, which is the backbone of Indian economy today, and which has contributed significantly towards the socio-economic development of the country by being a ministry which works for the welfare of workers, which provides credit to various entrepreneurs as well as funding support, technological advancement, as well as offers assistance for the improved access to the domestic and export markets, which provides modern testing facilities and quality certifications, which supports packaging, product development, and design interventions in the field of micro and other kinds of medium industries, and having several schemes basically which is promoting made in India in a very big way. I think first of all I am proud to be part of this group, which in fact is contributing more than any other department in a very significant way, in a very unobtrusive way, and yet taking India to strides which we haven't seen before. And this is a year of manufacturing, we know. This is a year of innovation. This is a decade of entrepreneurship in a very different form, where the policies have been changing so dynamically. And all of you are behind this, with the DG herself taking initiative that we need to address women in MSMEs, so that their morale is high, so that they stand motivated. They also work for the cause for which the MSME ministry has been set up. And this particular MSME, which supports various industrialization process in the country, and where there is a changing facet in view of COVID times, the way the economies have been changing so fast across the world, because having identified as a leader that there is a need that we have to stand up, run, and in fact be first in the race. For all this, we all agree that whether it is from a house or from anywhere in the world, the entire process of thinking, the entire process of setting up a house right, and the entire process of vision for even a family up to the state, it depends on a woman called mother. And it goes beyond words to say, wherever a woman works, wherever there is a contribution of women, whether it is a private sector or a government sector, or even to that matter, in any relationship, it has to flower. It has to take its shape in a beautiful way, provided the woman is mentally and physically strong and is able to take up that kind of responsibility in a very motivational way. And no need to say, as you are, so are we. That is the police, women in police. We are mostly surrounded by men most of the time. We are doing so-called conventionally a men's job, number 2. And number 3, we are in a dynamic phase of the society where we are seen as somebody where a woman is still has to make a mark or has to make her own role felt in the society in terms of a police officer. Maybe they look at Abe, they look as if, see, somebody is stronger than any normal and an average thinking of how a woman should be, and she is able to stand like that. And in such a scenario, I think I should say, being a police officer and standing before you and sharing a stage with you where I can freely express how a woman can make a difference by being a woman in a very unconventional sector, number 1. Number 2, by being a woman who can make a difference for the socio-economic structure of the country, number 2. And number 3, a woman, when they can make a difference by contributing by being a woman and also by being a professional, a hardcore professional, and able to balance both and yet contribute, is something a woman who has to be looked upon, like all of you. And once again, I congratulate all of you. I should say, when you have chosen to work here in whatever form, you might be a technology innovator, you might be a backseat worker, you can be somebody who is actually writing a policy, or designing a policy, or you can just be somewhere in a role where you are doing man management or management of as such various incentives or various kinds of policies which government has already set up. So your roles might be very different, but certain things are common. What I feel is, number one, you are working out of your home. Number one, you are working in a sector where you have chosen to work. And number three, you are working in a sector where you are seeing, as DG herself has said, that where woman is ostensibly and overtly being discriminated from the lowest level to all the levels, in spite of working to the greater competency or equal competency along with men. So in such a scenario, I can imagine what might be going through within, and every moment, every woman might be thinking, how can I make a difference to see that every woman is felt similar as a man is felt? Am I right? I think most of you might be feeling it. And the only answer I should say that it is not just the patients, it is knowing about how we can make the difference also can lead to causing a lot of difference in the way you are working and where you are working also. When we come to the police department, I will speak from the place where I am. Maybe long back, when I was recruited, I was the first woman DYSP for the state of Andhra Pradesh, then United Andhra Pradesh, of course now Telangana. And then I had a lot of doubt whether, because I had chosen this particular option to become a police officer, and I had become a police officer. In spite of becoming also, even after I got selected, I joined the training, there was a doubt among many people that, is it a right thing? Many people had a doubt whether has she chosen a right thing? And that kind of non-acceptance or a doubt among even near and dear who are around us as a woman has made me think that I have to prove that I'm in a right place. Don't you think that I need to first start with myself? I have to reassure myself, and also I have to reassure to the people around me that I have taken a right choice. Hope you all agree with me. So when it was my first posting, I thought, why, number one, why people have a very negative opinion about police? Number one. Number two, why people think that women are incompetent among police? Number three, why my family thinks that I am not very safe, or it might not suit me in terms of having a good family as a police officer. Whatever level it is unexceptional. It can be a home guard officer to an IPS officer. So I wanted to test it myself. Don't you think that kind of acumen is needed for every woman? This is the first point I wanted to say. When you sit in a particular seat, when you want to test whether you suit, or when you want to make others think that you suit to that particular place and you can work with the same amount of efficiency and motivation, yes, you have to be smart enough to prove that, yes, that is a right place for you, and you have to, in fact, prove to yourself that you sat in a right place, and then keep on motivating among yourself. So I went to a police station, and when I joined in 2001, there were media, there were TVs, of course, but still there was no social media to a great extent. Once I joined as the first woman DYSP for erstwhile Warangal district, and still people would not know till the news comes tomorrow morning in the newspapers on a big scale. Of course, it had already come in 2-3 news channels which were available at that particular point of time. So I wanted to test on the field whether is it true that women are unsafe. If women are unsafe, I am nothing but a woman first, not a police officer. I was just a citizen. So I had to walk into one of the police stations in the midnight and knock the door of a police station. The guard who was there asked me, See, you seem to be from a good family. Why are you loitering around the police station, around the railway station? What have you done? Why did you come at this point of time? These were the questions put by the guard to me. I immediately answered, sir, I don't know. My father is getting me married to a person whom I don't like. And so I have come out. I got into some train which bound to Warangal. I just got down at the railway station and I saw the police station. I'm loitering here. I don't want to go back to my father because he will marry me to a person whom I don't like. He felt very pity for me. I thought he will scold me, but he didn't. He said, see, this is a midnight and lots of people from different areas and different backgrounds keep roaming around here. So you need to at least spend at a safe place tonight. So please come inside. He forced me, in fact, into the police station, made me sit on a bench. He offered a glass of water and he started inquiring what I have studied and from which area am I, what my father does. And after some time, maybe after 10 or 15 minutes, my PSOs, that is my gunmen, were behind. And it came to know that it was a new woman DSP who has joined. What could I make out of this is I have joined the department where I can repose faith throughout my service, because this is the behavior or an attitude of a common policeman when he encounters a woman, isn't it? So I in fact do my job with that kind of mindset which I had on the day one, and it continues. This is the first kind. I think for every woman, wherever we work, we have to repose confidence into our seat, make the seat suitable to ourselves, and also reassure for ourselves that we are in a proper place. If not, understand and then take forward. That was the first instance. I will try to share many things like that. And second time, and while I was under training in Rangareddy district, which now is a Cyberabad commissionerate. We had to go through a series of dacoities used to happen around at that point of time, around Hyderabad, that is in Medchal, Rangareddy districts and all that. They used to loot villages together by coming in squads. Many robbers and dacoits used to come and take away. And there were big dacoities happening, people coming in olive green uniform. And there was a team which was appointed. And in the team, you know, for the first time, a woman DSP was part of the team. And we had to trace that particular dacoity gang. You imagine there was an inspector with me and there were 2 or 3 SIs and a set of officers, that is about 8 to 10. I was a beginner, still a trainer, and didn't know, except that they were looting into the villages, come in the night, they loot the entire village. Which village we don't know, because they were sparse and then not well connected at that point of time. And they used to kill. There were 1 or 2 killings also. And he had taken one of the weapons from an SI near a petrol bunk in Nalgonda district. So there was a weapon also with one of the gangsters at that point of time. And then we had to start from the scratch. You see, that was in fact a test for my intelligence, number one. It was a test for my own commitment towards the job which I have chosen. We started inquiring what kind of gangs do. Hope I do have time like this to speak. May I ask Dr. Vijaya whether I can continue?
Yeah, yes, madam. Please continue.
Yes. Then I had to just see whether we had, as a team, first find out what kind of gangs do operate in an olive green uniform, saying that they are police officers and come and then loot. Then we found some clue from one of the central jails. And then they said that they belong to one of the gangs of Guntur district. And then we finally came to know that it is operated by a young man by name Jinnah, who is operating like this with a gang. That was the only information we got from the jail, and where he is, how he is, from where they are operating. And technology was not to that extent as it is today. Then we just went back about what are the habits of that particular gang. Then we came to know that they keep moving in the drama troops. That is, they go to the villages, they do drama troops, they participate in the drama troops. And they try to gain the knowledge of that particular village, and they try to attack the village in some MO, in some kind of modus operandi after 6 months or so. And then we found out where these drama troupes generally originate and where they learn. Then we came to know about Kadapa district. So all the team we headed for Kadapa. And there is one person who make them learn this dance drama kind of a thing, which they can perform in the villages. Can you imagine this entire team of 8 people with an inspector, 3 or 4 SIs and constabulary? We moved 32 villages to just find out an instructor. And everybody were so tired. And I should also have been tired by the time. And one of the inspectors said, ma'am, we will just call it a day. I think we may not get any clue. That last moment of patience and perseverance, that we will see last 2-3 villages and then call it a day. And luckily we found that instructor in the last village, and we could know his name. And he said that yes, he met him very recently. It appears that he is staying somewhere in Kadapa, and he is close to X person in Kadapa. And then we went in search of that X person. And the ex-person disclosed that I think that they are in a particular colony, but he comes to meet me. And she gave another clue saying that they have a 1-year-old baby who is affected with pneumonia. And then there were no kind of technology anywhere. There was only hospital available was Nilofer. Again, we came back, all data searched on the Nilofer, whether any boy, 1-year-old admitted or seen in the OP. For the last 15 days, right from the day dacoity started in Hyderabad, seen in Nilofer. No clue. Then finally we went back to Kadapa, went to every pediatrician to see whether some consultation was there in that name. Luckily, at one of the doctors, they said that a man of this photograph had come with a wife with 1-year-old child. And we got some clue that they are staying in a particular exact colony. See, we went to that colony, we searched every house. One house was vacant and there was olive green uniform hanging. And none of them were there. I think then we got a clue that they will do an offense today in Hyderabad. Naturally, the offense happened in Hyderabad. One person was killed and we waited there. That was the first time that we had operated upon a dreaded dacoit in the middle of a town, and then he was encountered later. That's a different thing. This also shows that when we get a chance, we should not leave it to prove what we are, because chances don't happen every day. Chances don't happen every moment. That one thing has proved and set a foundation to me in my entire career, where I could go along that I can do any amount of difficult job if I have a team, if I go along with a team, number one. Number two, if I use my own acumen, and if I am persistent enough along with being smart. Yes, that continued throughout my service. And I would like to share certain such incidents which might have happened for any woman, for that matter, any professional in their own capacities, at their own places, at their own levels. And while I was working in Warangal, suddenly we got an information that a train, Golconda Express, was derailed. And in the middle of the town, and people were stuck in the bogies, and the bogie might fall down and everybody might be killed. You imagine? And the moment we reached in few minutes, the situation was that bogie was just hanging in the air, and the moment it falls, there were about 22 to 23 people who were stuck inside, including a small baby and a person in between 2 bogies. And without even giving a thought, probably I would not even have thought that I should do or shouldn't do. But simultaneously calling to the railways, calling for help, giving an appeal to the people that they should be ready to take over if at all, if we give people from the bogie. I got into the bogie. And I got into the bogie never thinking that it might fall. And I might also fall along with other people. And the moment you see, the moment leader stands, everybody come into the picture. Even the people, common people came, they put the bed sheets. They were ready to take the people once they are thrown outside the bogie or given back. and we could save almost 23 lives on the day. And this is one of the biggest rescues which would have happened. And way back, see, after probably 15 years of my service, while I was working as SP Madak, that is the Chief Minister's district, while it was a united state. Initially, after formation of Telangana, all of you might remember or might know that there was a very big yagam which took place near the CM's farmhouse, where lakhs of people, and in a single day, around 280 VVIPs came into that particular place. And there were about 6 to 10 helipads set up where VIPs were coming, VVIPs were going. And see, and the entire yagam belonged to only ghee and fire. And there was all hay on the, which was covered on the exteriors. And only problem was it can catch fire. And it was taking place at a place which was not very routine. Nothing took place at that point of time or at that place at any point of time before on that scale. And there was no, what should we say? There were no proper routes to it. There were no proper transportation or infrastructure to that particular place to come or go. And in case if something happens, how to do. That entire planning on a very big scale was done by a young SP with the help of course, senior officers and large group of subordinate officers and the colleagues. And all of you know that fire was caught the way it was expected. But you imagine it was prevented. There was no loss of life. I think it was one of the biggest learnings which I had, which happened in earlier days of my career, which has helped me to do or to replicate my effort, even if it is on a greater scale. That is how I think our mind, our thinking, and the way we have to relate yesterday, today, as well as tomorrow, and more so being a woman. And I will share you not a very personal incident, but I will share you an incident about how a woman can be looked into and how we should stop anybody looking at us more than a woman as a professional. Whether you are a very senior cadre, a senior bureaucrat, or you are a clerk, or you are a constable officer or a home guard officer. A woman is tested on the field in a patriarchal society, whether she is a moderate woman, she is a woman, or is she a professional. This testing goes on every moment for a woman, where you have to prove yourself and come out of it. And it so happened in one of the districts while I was working as an SP, we had got a big chunk of medicine, I should say pharmacy products, which were going to a particular place in a big container, a cold container, without any taxes, without any duty free. And we got information. We had took over that. And then initially, the moment we took over it, we didn't know whether we had to hand over it to the particular industry. Even before the procedure was set into, the concerned officer who actually helped in seizing and all that, who did, had to go to some other place. And it was really a very big catch. And this officer, just because he moved from that place to another place where he was meeting with a lot of men officers of his age, he tried to say, I have caught such a big cack of pharmacy products which were being caught, and they are about before my police station. And now you know what happened. We have an SP, you know. And he just loosely passed a comment saying that we had to take, unless they pay something, we are not going to leave. Okay. This was a dialogue which he actually put it before a lot of other police officers who were his batchmates, wanted to just test or put something which he intended to do in the name of a woman, though she was a senior officer and was heading this particular unit as a supervisory officer to him. And somebody commented, and you know, in 5 minutes, I got 3 video messages saying what he has talked. Ma'am, he is talking rubbish. Can you imagine? And it was male officers who sent. So it is nothing like it. The very next day, that particular officer was called to my office. And I just made him sit before my office for 10 days without talking to him, without making him talk to me, or without making him talk to anybody else about anything. And after 1 week or 10 days, remorse entered into that office. He walked into my office almost sobbing and weeping, saying that I'm sorry. I just underestimated. I told you have a girl child of 4 years. Tomorrow, if this is what you expect a woman, that you can pass a careless statement and you can just take it on your own shoulder, everything good, and your intentions which are bad putting on a woman just because she is a woman at whatever level she is, it is going to harm you more than it is going to make you proud of being a police officer. You know, that particular moment, and I just left him. Until today, he has been an excellent officer throughout. And till today, he has been an excellent officer who has learned from his life mistake. You know, I can proudly say before all women who are before me that probably I acted as a mother. Had I admonished him, had I found fault, had I just written a report, probably he would have kept behaving in the same way throughout his service. And that is what I think every incident will make us learn things which we can experiment upon more than a man and perform better than a man also. Don't you think so, all of you? And so, my dear colleagues, whoever are here, I should say, when it comes to safety aspect of a woman, now I will come to the second part of my own talk. That is the actual safety aspect of a woman. Do you think safety is similar to the perception of safety? See, today most of you might have had children who have gone abroad or who are studying abroad or who actually are abroad. And still, you never feel unsafe sending in a plane, they studying in a university, they working singularly alone. But you have a problem in sending your own girl outside, sitting at home. You yourself coming out of the home, you yourself coming out to work, you yourself traveling. Am I audible? I think there is some disturbance.
Yes, madam. I request Sapna Uday to mute your audio, please. Ma'am, please continue.
Sorry, madam. Ma'am, your voice is very low, ma'am.
My voice?
Yeah, ma'am.
Ma'am, it's clearly audible, ma'am.
Yeah, it's
Is
clearly
it same
audible.
for
but-
everyone?
Yes, madam. Clear, ma'am.
Thank you.
So when we actually wanted to, the second part of my today's talk would be about the perception of the safety for a woman. See, you have no problem in sending anybody outside the country to even study, get married, live a life and all that. But we have a problem in sending our own child, a girl child outside, a girl child to travel. And do you know, did you at any point of time, any one of you have studied a crime pattern and how the crimes are occurring in our own part, wherever you are living, in whichever part of the country you are living? Probably you would not have done. You would have just read some stray news that something bad has happened, and so everywhere it is very unsafe. I would like to give certain statistics to all of you. When it comes to the serious sexual assaults which are occurring on the women across the state, probably across the country also, at least I can vouch for Telangana. 96% of the serious sexual assaults which are being faced by women or children are not in public places, are not by strangers. It is mostly by near and dear. And what do you have to answer this? How do you have to answer this? And in what way can you perceive the safety? Do you think we have to talk aloud? Like any person who comes and keeps talking on a forum saying that a girl is unsafe while they travel, a girl is unsafe, a woman is unsafe at workplace. More than that, we have to have a perceptual change, the way a woman is looked into right from birth. That is the only reason that perception about how a woman is looked into is becoming a big safety issue for the woman everywhere, without exception to this particular state. So who should work upon it? I think I'm just putting a thought into you when I say, as a senior police officer, that 96% of the crimes, especially serious sexual offenses, are occurring on women or girls or boys, I mean on minors, is because of near and dear. An uncle, a known friend, a brother, a father. So I think the answer to this is, number one, if you are mothers, sisters, or in whatever capacity associated with a male at a very young age as a guardian or as parent, it is very proper and appropriate on our part to inculcate that we have to respect women for their own independence and that for their own safety and for their own well-being. It is not just the females who have to be educated. So I wish this particular message of mine, based upon the statistics, shall be well taken by each woman who is on the forum. If you are mother of a boy, it is very important that you grow your boy child with equal responsibility as a girl child. Yesterday, on a little interview, a journalist was saying, I have a daughter of studying in class 9. I also have a son studying in class 8, intermediate. I don't feel very bad while sending my son outside even in the midnight. But I want my girl child to come back by 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Ma'am, because I feel very unsafe about my girl child traveling after 10. How do you view this particular conversation of what she said? She said, don't you think girls are unsafe? My question was, if at all, if girls are unsafe, it is because of whom? Is it not because of some boy who is moving outside after 10 o'clock? Or after 11 with, or it has to be mellowed down over a period of time. When you are getting a girl educated, when you are giving her an equal opportunity, when you are getting her married into a marriage of or alliance of her own choice, and then after marriage, you expect the girl to behave in a very decent way. You expect a girl to say yes, yes to their in-laws. And you also expect a girl to serve, to listen to whatever are the whims and fancies of a patriarchal system. You have brought up them in such a way that they are independent, they express freely, and all of a sudden after marriage, you don't want her to express freely. See what a paradox. Let us not have that paradoxical systems, which is the result is crime. And today, why most of the families, they are very dynamic, they are not able to settle well. One side, it is because boys are not taught that the responsibility of a family, all chores of a family, all things in a family, whether it is children, whether it is cooking, taking care of a house, going out to work, are equal responsibilities of a male and a female. Or otherwise, thinking that certain chores are of girl and certain things are only of boy, where there is a clash, because the way they are being brought up, the way they are being told that your rights will be assured by law, by the constitution, is something different from the way the society is making a girl to view about herself in connection or vis-a-vis the society, which requires a change. I am touching at the innards of what are the reasons for crime. And when it comes to the means how we are tackling the crime in this particular state, you go out, you please put on the chat how many of you know what Haka is? How many of you have tried whether dial 100 works? How many are dial 100 or 112 works? And how many of you have seen or downloaded a mobile application called Hawkeye on your own system from a Google Play Store? How many of you did? I think more than that, you would have read about the news, which are very negative, rather than trying to work out how you can be safe in an emergent situation. So where does the wrong lie? I feel the wrong lies the way we are looking at ourselves, vis-a-vis the society. What is safe for us need not be a pivotal point for the society. So let us realize what aspects have to be taken into consideration when we have to be safe. Safety is not the sole criteria or sole job for somebody to keep you safe. If I have to be safe, 50% of the responsibility is mine. 50% responsibility of you being safe or me being safe is of my family, my upbringing, my different stakeholders of the society, immediate society, and then the government. So, do we know what role each one have to play in keeping ourselves safe? So, there are many, many measures, many, many initiatives which we have taken up to see that we come or justice comes or reporting comes to your doorsteps. And even then, if we are not ready to utilize, I think we cannot find fault. And if we keep find fault in the systems, we are not going to progress as a society. When I say you have to have SHE team's number of your particular area, wherever you reside, or SHE team's number of the state with you, number one. You should at least know that dial 100 can be called up during emergency. Number three, when there is a cyber complaint that somebody is harassing you in a cyber way, that is somebody is harassing you on a message or a WhatsApp or some social media channel, you should know a minimum mail ID how you have to report when you are educated. When you are not educated also, you should know that there is 100. It can be help. It can be of some help to your maid, to your friend, to your colleague, to a person whom you don't know yet see when you go out, isn't it? So these are something, for example, SHE teams. On an average, every month we get about 520 to 530 complaints to SHE teams. SHE teams are the teams which are a group of male and female officers who work outside the police stations. They keep moving in the areas which are called as hotspots for us. That is where there is a chance of public stalking more. That is colleges, busy localities. There is a lot of movement of the people throughout 24/7. And they keep watch and they try to find out by conducting decoy operations. And they also record with the evidence with the cameras they have. This is one way of working of SHE teams. They don't sit in the police stations. They sit outside and they have a WhatsApp number whom if you complain, they will immediately call back to you and say what is a problem. And they develop that problem, what you have reported on an evidence-based. And then if it is a minor, they call to counsel. And if it is a major, they try to warn. And if it is repeated, they try to go for a case. This is a socio-legal experiment which we have done in Telangana state, which has been taken up by many other states because it has been successful in changing minors into good behavior because nobody is a born criminal, number one. And number two, when I say it is a socio-legal experiment, I am very firm at that point when I say, because we have experimented by counseling hundreds of people whom we catch every month, and they get converted into volunteers for us and giving information, and they become the change leaders themselves. When we as police officers are making people who otherwise go into or deviate their paths as change leaders, I think as mothers, as sisters, as a woman or as fathers, we can in fact bring change within our own family by we ourselves setting with certain value systems for the family, where we can look at women with respect, where we can look at women with equality. And coming to your own department, when ma'am said that the percentage salaries are almost 18% less, as I understand, minimum wage is 450 for a man or a woman in any urban area per day labor. But see how many are being paid that. And it is not the sole responsibility of government to take care whether wage is being paid or not. It is, as a citizen, I think I have to be very responsive and start reporting, start questioning. That questioning spirit comes when I am aware. So my dear women or my dear colleagues, whoever are here, men and women, I think awareness is the first step for us in the society to prove what we are and to report when something wrong happens, because governments are meant, and there are many organizations and individuals who have the ability to take we ourselves as well as our problems along with them to come to see that they come to a logical end. So this day, when I say that there is a fear in the public that she teams can come, it is not just safety which we have ensured. We have ensured perception of safety. Maybe she team is not there at a particular place, but when somebody comes over to a place, say some kind of bus stop, they think that, yeah, there might be a she team and they might be watching. We have solved the concept so well to inculcate the spirit of safety into women, not just by spreading the number. I think such way, we also have started a unique initiative called Bharosa. The Bharosa is a one-stop center where a serious sexual abuse victim once walks into a police station, is immediately got into a Bharosa center by a woman officer, where all the facilities, I mean, all kinds of services, I should say, whether it is a psychology services, taking of the statement, understanding the psychological condition of that particular child or woman, then seeing through it that a crime is registered, crime is monitored, court statements are recorded online, medical examination is done online, follow-up is done online, only to see that we charge sheet the case in a record time and get the conviction. Number two, we support the victim so that they are not re-victimized. And this kind of systems, this kinds of ideas should be brainchild of all of you to see that we further progress as a society. This is what I thought I would speak with the little time I have. And if there are any questions, you can put on the chat. I would be seeing, or you can also unmute yourself and ask me the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your inspiring speech to our participants. And now I request the participants to post your question in the chat box. We'll consider a few questions for discussion with our chief guest, madam. Any questions from the participants? Soumya, I request you to read the question, please.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the question that we have is, why our government is unable to control rape cases? It's a protection to women issue. From Dr. Uma Devi.
Is rape done by somebody by informing it to the government? Or when I said about the statistics, most of this serious sexual abuse offenses, I did not name them as rape, is done by near and dear. And what is happening in your house with a known person doesn't depend upon the law enforcement authority. Number one. First, we have to make a girl safe at home by teaching them proper safety issues. Number two, once a rape occurs, we have to see that maximum punishment happens. This maximum punishment happens only when we file a charge sheet in a record time and see to it the trial happens. with the kind of population what we have, with the kind of legal enforcement system we have. Now the courts are so active. Now the police is so active that Supreme Court has mandated that we put in such cases, charge sheets are done within 6 months, within 2 months, and then the trial is over immediately, which actually has picked up the momentum just now. I think with the establishment of Bharosa centers, which I have told just now, we have improved the conviction rate from just 4% to 30%. I think in the days to come, only by punishing such people properly, we can make the system work and people deter from doing such inhuman activities. Hope you agree with me. Yeah, next question, please.
Ma'am, the next question is that if someone stares at us, what should we do?
When someone stares at us, you take a photograph if you have a camera and put it on WhatsApp to She Teams. If you feel threatened, you also inform to the people who are around you that somebody is staring at you. They will take care. We have to take the protection of immediate society. And if you don't have confidence, yes, you can have your own acumen in dealing with things. If you think that somebody might do something after staring also, you take a photograph, you take a video. What stops you from doing that? And post it on Hawkeye. Let us see whether action will be taken or not. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. We don't have
Madam.
any more questions, ma'am.
Madam, can I ask one question? This is Swapna.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, good evening. Madam,
Please.
In Dubai, they will give the punishment very seriously if they stares at the girl. And why don't we do in India, ma'am?
India is a democracy. Dubai is not a democratic country. Here, laws are acquisitorial. All laws are in favor of an accused. That is, we have to prove that he did not do the offense. There, a victim need not prove that he has done. Court takes it for granted that he has done, and he has to prove that he did not do. Here, we have to prove that he has done. Otherwise, court thinks that he didn't do anything. The system of law is different.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for my answer, ma'am.
Can I ask?
Yes, please.
Dr. Sumati, I appreciate, and it was really inspiring. I'm Dr. Fahmida Banu. I'm a neighbor of Nimismi from Femicare Hospital. I really appreciate your efforts and your commitment. One thing is, justice delayed is justice denied. Even you catch the accused, you take such a long time, and I think that something should be done. Years together, they will be in the jail, or with the false accusations, they will be released. So that gives a confidence to the criminal. Something has to be done at this front, I feel.
You are right, doctor. In fact, the criminal justice system in India itself is linked to so many organizations. Maybe the crime begins, the registration begins with the police, but the trial ends in the court. And this system has to be made seamless. I think over a period of time, there is a progression. See, the kind of sexual abuse cases, they are pending for trials for years together. Even 2014 cases have not come to trial so far. And we cannot question the courts why you did not do the trials. But still, because of the population we have, because of the systems which we have, of late, there has been a momentum in recognizing that women's safety is a priority issue, and there is an improvement. Hopefully, with the kind of measures which we are taking in the criminal justice system, the way the courts are active, the way police have become very friendly towards the citizens, I think we are going to have, as I have seen throughout my career, there has been a lot of improvement. And in the days to come, with the youngsters moving more ahead in this particular system and with adopting technology more than anything else, I think we are going to have solutions as you have visioned that very soon.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I want to talk something, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I inspired a lot, ma'am. by your speech. I want to become like you, IPS next stage, ma'am.
Excellent. I am inspired too.
Ma'am, I am student, ma'am. Second year.
Yes.
I am Sri Voluntaries Sabala's daughter, ma'am. I am.
Okay. You can also join as a she volunteer. Doesn't matter. You're
Ma'am,
welcome.
they are asking age, ma'am. They are asking. But I am now 17. April 8 if come 18 years.
No problem. You can join even now. You come onto our website and you can put a request that I want to join. Now you can pass your number on the chat. It will be recorded and we will take you as a volunteer. No problem.
Ma'am, in this group I should send, ma'am.
Yes, you can send through madam, whomever you report to, or through your mother. Okay.
Ma'am, my mother is Sabala, ma'am. D. Sujata.
Yes.
Ma'am, next I want to be like you, ma'am. IPS and IAS was my goal.
Thank you.
Ma'am, my goal was I want to become really IPS or IAS, ma'am. It is my very
all the best. All the best. Yeah.
So all the best.
Hello. Ma'am, good evening, ma'am. I am Madeline, assistant professor at St. Joseph Degree and PG College. I have a question for Sumati, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Please go ahead.
Yes. In this, my question is: in this technological or innovative era, we still see that there is patriarch dominancy. Okay, but still we are running race as a different gender, right? So we females are we have started to race with the other gender, right?
Yes.
So we are running parallel with them. But I still see that the harassment is still going on. It's still going on, right? So what are the measures to be taken, ma'am, to stop all this? So any new implementation or any new policy to be designed or to be brought?
See, for example, in Telangana, the government has thought that crimes against women, which were only about 10 to 12% about a decade ago, today have risen up to 30%. It is not because crimes have risen. It is because the reporting of crimes has increased. Women have started expressing their rights. Women are not tolerating abuse. That itself is a good sign. And second sign is government thought that if that such a rise is there, it should be a separate vertical.
Magdalene, madam, please mute your audio.
Government thought that there should be a separate vertical which can only deal with the crimes against women. That is how this state has an exclusive wing called Women's Safety Wing, which takes care of all the police station level crimes which are happening against women and children, not just on a curative way, or even on a preventive way by bringing awareness. That is how, as an officer, I am also interacting with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for answering my question and have a pleasant evening. Thank you, organizer.
Thank
Shall
you.
we end it here, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And now I request our faculty member, Ms. Swapna, Associate Faculty Member, NIMSME, to propose vote of thanks for the webinar.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have any question. Excuse me.
Good evening all. On the behalf of National Institute for Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks on this occasion and especially on this webinar, Women's Safety Issues and Challenges at Workplace. At the outset, I would like to thank our chief guest and resource person for this webinar, Srimati B. Sumati IPS, DIG, CID, Telangana State Women's Safety Wing, Government of Telangana, Hyderabad. Madam, we are really enlightened with your session, especially the incidences that you have shared, how you have overcome the challenges and the issues at the workplace. Really, it was very inspiring and motivated for all the women. And you are the role model, madam, especially by seeing most of the women have motivated, and the message that you have given during this webinar, whatever the position, whatever the profession we are, you have said that we have to work with a confidence, and how to overcome the issues, especially when we are working with a woman, what type we have to work and overcome the issues, like a mother, how we take up our issues at the home. And you have rightly said, madam, women have the great responsibility. We have to bring a big change, especially with our family members. We have to educate our sons, husband, and our other family members how to respect the women, and that would make a great change, and would sort many of the women issues, especially that are are occurring in the society. And we are very much enlightened, madam, by your inspirational story, and also the measures that you have given. There a lot of awareness has been brought by the Telangana government, especially the women safety wing. A lot of measures they have taken for the women, and really this is a very good knowledge, and definitely the women will utilize this measures or the initiatives that you have taken. And thank you, madam, for your time, because in spite of your busy schedule, you have given us the time, and you have enlightened us. I once again thank on this occasion. And I would like to thank our Director General, Madam, because of her support and guidance, and especially she is very motivating lady, and she was working as in the Women's Studies cell at our institute earlier, and a lot of activities has been done in this cell, and this is also one of the activities that had happened this year, especially during this crisis. A lot of challenges are faced by the women, and this is a right topic that was scheduled, and it was organized by NIMSME. And once again, I thank madam for this, and our heartful thanks to all the people who have participated in this webinar. And I also thank our colleague, Dr. Vijaya, and also who have contributed indirectly for this particular webinar. Thank you all. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapna, madam.
Yeah.
Madam,
so once again, on behalf of NIMSME, thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And anybody, anytime, Women's Safety Wing can be approached by any of the by the institution as a whole, or individuals also. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all. Thank you for the participating in the webinar. So we can close the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
I request Soumya to close the session.
Yes, ma'am. We'll close.
Yeah. Thank you.